Hello. Okay. Wait. Everything fine? I hope so. Hello. Okay. Wait. Sorry. Hi, everyone. Okay. You guys do know this is kind of like a lesson thing, right? Y'all ready to learn? Okay, man. Okay, aunt. So again, this is a music stream. Anyone who wants to learn how to write, we may learn a few things from here. If you have any friends who like produces or write, I'm gonna teach you, yeah, some basic stuff. Free class. Oh, well, for the first few, it's free. Don't worry. Can't we just be happy to be here? You're here for the background noise. Oh, don't worry. It's not gonna be too serious. So, I plan to how how should I like? I'll keep it simple, right? But it's gonna be useful. So I won't go through like tedious stuff like call like what's a G clef, what's a bar. But okay, so first I'm gonna start. Okay, I'm using MuseScore by the way. Basic stuff. If you ever do wanna write songs, so we have start with the rhythm. So here we have if you're using like a DAW, we all start with a 4/4 by the way. A 4/4 is a time signature. That's your guide. That will be your tempo. That will also be your rhythm. Okay? That's it. That's the thing here. That says 4/4. Just know it means that like in a bar, there will be four notes or at least equal to four counts. You guys get it? Okay, well anyway. So the first note you'll learn usually is this note. That is what you call a whole note. Now a whole note is when you count it, if you play that, that will be four counts each. I hope it's playing. Is it playing? I don't think it's playing, huh? How do I... Because I'm using... So this I've been struggling with, that's why it's kind of delayed. Playing a while ago. Okay, wait. Let's close FL2. We're off to a good start, guys. Okay, let me try something again. Basic stuff. X. Where's piano? Now please have a sound. There's no sound. Will there be a rediff stream? What's that? I'm not sure what you guys are talking about. Wait. Man, it's not working. Oh wait, let me reset, guys. Why you test shit before you stream? Where was that? Okay, I hope you guys can see that. Space to space. What is this? Oh, there we go. Not sure why it wasn't working. Okay, so like I was saying, the basic rhythms you gotta know if you want to start writing in DAW are these. The first one is called a whole note, and they're circular. See? If I put on the metronome, that's gonna count us in 4 counts. So there are 4 counts each. Right? So just keep that in mind. That's 4 counts each. Next would be half notes. They look like this. We're just in rhythm right now, and they're 2 counts each. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. Alright, so we're moving on to the quarter notes. And this time, like in a bar, there's 4 of them, and they get 1 count each. See, for every click of the metronome, you play 1 of them. Right? So let's switch to. I hope this doesn't fuck up and I open FL2. Okay, it didn't fuck up. What does it look like, by the way? So again, like I said, there's the whole note, the half note, and quarter note. So how does that translate into a DAW? Let's say you got your DAW here. Some of you may know, if you look at the sampler, if you just put one thing here, that would be a whole note. If you put 2, see, here is like that would be the half note, and then this would be the quarter note. Let me get actually a rhythm, guys. There we go, that would be the quarter notes. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So that's what you're doing. If you're doing like a trance song, you're actually using quarter notes in 4/4. All right. So I'll just sticking with the basics on a 4/4. I'm not using any different time signatures yet. So anyway, let's keep going. There's still more. So we have whole notes, half notes, and quarter notes. Next would be the 8th note. So 8 notes in a bar, there's actually 8 of them. Hence the name 8 notes. And for one count or one click of the metronome, you play 2 sounds. Now a lot of schools, like they'll tell you, oh, it's a 1.5 count, but that's a little confusing. When you can just say it's 1 count, sounds. Or 1 click, sounds. So with the metronome, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and then 1 and 2 or n. Now for the last of the basic ones, I hope I'm not going too quick here. Sixteenth notes. By the way, I'll check in. I don't think you guys can see the score. I'm sorry. So again, just to review. Why is my file showing? Oh man. Wait. Florida. No, thank you. There we go. Okay. So again, I didn't show you the 8 notes. I'm gonna show 8 notes here again, and they look like this. I decided not to go straight to a DAW explaining rhythm, because I think that would be a little too hard to pick up. Just using one note, and that's the E, by the way. So again, 8 notes, 1 count, 2 sounds. 1, 2, 3, 4, la, ta, ta, and 3 and 4 and 1 and 3 and 4 and you'll hear this a lot in vocal songs. Alright, then the last basic notes. 16th notes. You can guess how many notes are there in a bar. They are 16 notes in a bar. And of course, the more notes you have in a bar, the faster you'll play it. So for 1 count, it's 4 sounds. So for every clap, you have to play 4 notes. Alright? Again, that's 16 notes, and for 1 count, 4 sounds. I'm just gonna lay out all of the basic notes here in the music sheet, starting with the quarter notes. I mean whole notes on the middle C. Also, don't worry, I'll explain the lines. And then we have the half notes. And then the quarter. Again, I'm just gonna explain basics before we actually go into writing. Maybe that's on a Saturday. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we have 8 notes. After this, I'm gonna give a few minutes to you guys. If you have any questions, just type it in the chat. Just finish this. Then we have 16th notes. And if you notice, if you compare them, right? For 1 quarter note, you can divide it into 2 half notes. And then for 1 half note, you can divide them into 2 quarter notes. And for 1 8th note, you can divide them into 16th notes. It's just a little interesting fact. not really useful in writing. So I'm just gonna copy paste this. There we go. So whole notes, half notes, quarter notes, eighth notes, and 16th notes. All right. Are there any questions, by the way? This MuseScore tree. I don't know, man. It's the MuseScore portable, right? I'm not sure what the version is. But anyway, I'm just using it like as a notation program. Okay, so how do you translate this into a DAW? Right? What's a DAW? It's a direct audio workstation. It could be Ableton, it could be, what's the other one people use? GarageBand, Apple Studio, Reaper, anything. You will always see a sampler. This is what you call a sampler. Now the sampler contains 16 notes. See, if you look at them. Wait, shit, I don't think I changed the view. We're not gonna do dotted notes. Not yet. Not yet. We're doing basics. Okay, so anyway, so again, how do you translate this? Where is that? This, like music sheet, right? The quarter notes, the whole notes, the half notes, the 16 and the 8s, into a DAW. So let's go into our DAW at the sampler. Now every DAW may have a sampler, but it depends. FL Studio has one. So a sampler usually has 16 notes. See? So if you count them all, they're 16. So that means by default, you can put 16 notes in a sampler. And that would be one measure. So if you put one, again, if you put one, you're gonna have a whole note. Let me put in that metronome. That's in the tempo. That's a whole note. Next would be half note, see? So how do I know? Again, I guess I really have to explain time signature. Sorry, my lesson plans is like really loose. I'm also kind of improvising. So again, time signatures is like your guide, your rhythm. How does that work? Let me explain this. I'll just explain it here in the DAW. So a 4/4 time signature, it's usually on the strong beat here. 1, 3, 4. Okay? So remember when I said like when you divide notes, a half note would be 2 of these. Right? And again, a whole note is just 1. All of it. And then when you put quarter notes in, that would be here. All 4. Did you guys get that? Did you guys get my explanation? Audio a bit choppy. It's probably the noise gate I've been working on. But anyway. So then 8 notes would be, since this is what a quarter note look like, you're gonna put the 8 notes here. See? That's gonna be 8 notes. 1, 3, 4, 1 and 2, 3 and 4 and 1. And then of course everything would be 16 notes. That's the fastest notes. For now, at least the basics. So those are the 4 base. How many is it? Those are the basic notes, or at least note value you need to learn before you start writing in a DAW or music sheets. So then after that, what's next? So let's go to the piano roll. See how's that look like. Excuse me. If you look at the piano roll, now again, in any DAW, it's gonna look like this. The piano's gonna be on the side. Where's that? Ah, fine. Sorry, I have to do that. So again, there is actually, but it's more than a sampler. So a sampler is only one bar, but here you're gonna have more than one. Keep going. And again, there is 16 lines here. That's 4, 8, 12, and then 16. Put that on the middle. That's a 16 though, so that's why it's divided into 4 cells. And again, this would be a whole note. And then this would be a half note. And then this would be quarter notes. You're gonna hear 4 of them. And these are 8 notes. For one count, it's 2 sounds. Okay? So those are the... Well, low-key curious, what would the beats look like if it was 1/3? Okay, you know what? I guess I have to explain fucking time signatures. Okay. Guess I'm rushing things. Okay, so time signatures, the different time signatures. So like Alpha Ziguana said, a 1/3, right? Like I hope you're talking about time signatures. A 1/3, if it was 1/3, it's not possible because here's the explanation why you're using a fraction of. Should I'll pull up a paint, I guess. Okay, give me a sec, guys. Let me explain time signatures. Like I'm gonna have to explain it. So, time signatures, right? It's 4/4. Fucking hell. 4/4. So this number here usually will tell us the counting. The count. It's not gonna fit, but it means count. Okay? And then the number here what's wrong with paint? Leave me alone. I want a thick brush. Okay, so again, it's a fraction. So the upper number tells you the count. And then this lower number, now don't get confused, is actually the type of note that gets one count. Now, I hope you remember what the quarter note is, just in case you guys forgot. A quarter note looks like this. Right? Excuse me, my voice is cracking. So that's what it looks like. So again, the number below the 4/4 times the 4 actually means quarter note. Okay? Quarter meaning 4. Because it's a little confusing because a quarter note contains 4 in a 4/4. You guys get it? Okay, that's just what it means. That's why. And then, so now let's go to the other time signature. Of course, there can be a 1/4, but that's really dumb. That means there's only one note in a measure. And then there's a 2/4. So that means in a measure, you can only have 2 quarter notes, or at least an equivalent of 2 counts. You guys get it? I'm going to show it here soon. And then we have a 3/4, which means you can have 3 quarter notes in a measure. So maybe, Nyaorisu, when you ask like 1/3, you probably mean 3/4. What would it look like in a DAW? Well, it's gonna be the same-ish, but instead of 4, you're just gonna have like 3. See here? So let's go to the FL Studio. It's a 3/4. It's just you just adjust. There's a function to adjust time signature. This, see? There's only 3. You can only have 3. So that's what it looks like. Okay, so again, the top number means the counting, and the lower number means the type of note that gets 1 count. Hope you guys get it. So let's illustrate it here in the music sheet. What would it look like? Here's my tool. This one? Oh, there it is. Okay. So there's actually different time signatures here. Where are they? There it is. Time signature. There's a 2/4. That means I can only put 2 quarter notes. And that's it. I move on to the next bar. There's a 3/4. That means I can only put 3 quarter notes. And then I move on to the next bar. Any more, any less, it's an incomplete bar. There's also a 5/4, 6/4, a 4/4, and then we have a 3/8. So what does that mean? If you have a 3/8 or a 4/8, that would mean, see what happens? It tied the note. Again, I'm moving into like straying away. But it just means like the 8 notes will get, what do you call this? 1 count. So a 3/8 doesn't actually mean it's fast. It's just like the counting's different and the way it's written in the music sheet is different. Für Elise by Beethoven is written in 3/8. That's why a lot of people played it fast when it's actually a very slow piece. But anyway, we're straying. We're straying off from the original basics. So, again, let's move on. I hope you guys understood that. If you have any question, you can leave in the comments or something. Sorry for the stupid question, but is it possible to write a song in a 6/8 or a 12/8, for example? It's 1/3. Okay, so 1/3. You usually it would mean like 3/4. Now, I think I know what you mean by 1/3, because in the FL Studio Snap, right? Sorry, I'll get back to the other question. In the FL Studio Snap, like it groups the notes, triplets. So now here I would have triplets. Sorry, I'm like I get so distracted. See? Da 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 da. But it's 1 count each, that's 3 sounds. So we're like straying from basics. And the other question was like, can you write a 6/8? Yes, you can write a 6/8. If there is no 6/8 in your DAW, what you can do is this. But as long as you can like change like the dividing of the piano roll here. It says 3, it doesn't have to be 6, but you can put 6 if you want. Here, technically, you can put a 6. It can be a 6/8. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 3, 4, 5, 6. But of course, you want that fast. 1, 2, da, dee, da, dun, 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 dun. Okay? Did I say 6/8? I was the biggest 3/8 and 12/8 haters. Why? 3/8 is like it's just like counting 3 but only with 8 notes. I can understand 12 because that's a lot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 1, 2, 3. 4 quarter notes, 2 half notes. A third? Okay, can be. The 3, if 4 is quarter and 2 is half, what would 3 be? Well, that would be a dotted half note, which I haven't gone through. Yeah, I haven't explained it. I'll add what that looks like. So what is a dotted half? What is a dot? I'll just go again with just the basic one. A dotted half note would mean, see, look here. Alright, let me, guys, if I can illustrate this a little better. There's 4, 4. These are rest, by the way. That's like silence. Don't worry. Just see that you see 4 of them. Now, if I put a half note, right? So that would take up 2 counts. Hence, you can only have 2 in a bar in a basic time signature, which is 4, 4. So it takes up 2 counts. Now, a dotted half note would actually take up 3 of them. 3 quarter notes. So that means for 1 count, that means you have to hold this note for 3 counts. So 1, 2, 3, 4. See, that's a dotted half note. So what does that look like in the DAW? Let's go back to the basic time signature. That means you're gonna have to take 3 cells. Okay? That is what a dotted half note look like in a DAW. Where's the snap here? Wait, sorry. I don't think I'm changing, huh? Let's go to the DAW. Okay. Hello everyone who just came in. So this is what it looked like. A dotted half note, you have to take 3 of these for it to be a dotted half note. But your bar is incomplete. That's either a rest or it's incomplete. Well, you can just add another note. Da da. Dotted half notes and quarter notes. Okay? So those are the basic ones. Again, I've added dotted half notes. We have just a little review. I'm so thirsty. I get so tired when I talk. Okay. We have whole notes, which is 4 counts, 1 sound. We have half notes, 1 sound, but you have to play it for 2 counts or 2 clicks. And then we have quarter notes. It's like 1 sound, 1 click each. And then we have 1 count, 2 sounds. By 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2. And then we have 1 count, 4 sounds. Then we have this, the dotted half note. It's like 3 counts. And then this one will be rest or a note. Okay? So that's dotted half note. There's also dotted quarter notes. I'll cover it right now. There is a dotted quarter note. So let's say I'm gonna use this. I'm gonna turn them all into rests. So you see 8 notes. Now, let me just go to the paint. Okay, that's good for you, little. Yeah, I hope you remember most. Ah, so that's where the 1/3 came from. Okay. Well, thanks a lot, Alpha Ziguana. Okay, so here, I hope you can see the paint. So dotted half notes. So a dotted half note would be this. it will have a dot here. And actually, a dotted half note is a quarter note plus an eighth note. Right? So what does that mean? It's one count, but it's like the equivalent of 3 8-note sounds. So for one count, that would be 3 8-note sounds. Wait, where's my music? There it is. I should zoom this in. How do you... There we go. Much better. So like I said, dotted half quarter notes take up 3 8 notes. If I turn this into a dotted half note, see? I've just taken 3 8 notes. And if I add another, I've taken 6 8 notes, leaving us with like 2 more. So that means you cannot add another dotted 8 note, or else it will do this, or your bar will be incorrect. You can just add 1 quarter note left, or 2 8 notes. Now here's a little fun fact. This little rhythm here, this little rhythmic motif, the dotted quarter notes, that's actually very popular in pop songs. Or at least... What's this? Sorry, I'm just gonna read chat for a while. Would you be making both? I don't know, it depends, man. It depends on who fits the song better. Okay, anyway, back to dotted quarter notes. Now again, it's like 3 8 notes. I'm just gonna illustrate an 8 note here on the DAW. I hope you guys can see the DAW. Yeah, you can. Now I'm gonna put the dotted quarter note here on the middle C. So again, it's equivalent to 3 8 notes. And then what's left is just a quarter note. Can't add any more. So this rhythm, so like I said, it's actually very popular in like the old electro, EDM. Da dee da da. Da 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 da. See? Yeah, you can actually write a whole song with just dotted quarter notes. It just... See? So that's like the use of what a dotted quarter note is. Hope you guys understand. Just YouTube being YouTube, yeah, I know. Alright, what's next? So I think we covered the basic rhythms, right? Like the basic note quantity, I forgot what it's called. Basic rhythms. Note value, there we go. The basic note values, we covered it. Sometimes signatures, but we're just sticking with the 4/4 for now. Alright, what's next then? Alright, so like I said, before we go into chords, we're gonna have to talk about scales. So what are scales? How do I zoom out? So what are scales? Well, they're a series of notes that makes up a melody. So the basic one would be C major, of which, before we go there, take note of the 5 lines, and in between them, the 5 lines, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Just for context, there's 5 lines and 4 spaces. So let's quickly go to the Paint program again. I'm so new to music, this looks like witchcraft. Don't worry. I hope I can explain it simply so that you can follow along. Okay, so again, there's 5 lines, 4 spaces. I'm gonna draw the G clef. Then 5 lines. 3, 4, 5. Now, don't worry too much if you can't memorize the notes. Also, there's like an extra line here for the middle C. So what are these lines? Well, these are where the notes are. First line, starting at the bottom, would be E. And then the second line would be G. And then the third line would be B. Then on the fourth line, it would be D. Then F. Alright, and then this special line here at the bottom would be the C. That's the middle C. Now what about the spaces in between? Well, this would be, the first space would be, let me just remove this. F, A, C, and this is E. Alright, and in here, between this middle line and the first line would be E. Okay? You guys get that? So where is that in the DAW? Well, let's start here on the middle C. Where would it be on the DAW? Now, it depends. But if you played piano, in FL Studio, at least, the middle C would be here. So this note here is the middle C. Let's go to score. Be here. That's the middle C. It's right here on the DAW. C5. Alright? So, now let's go back to the Muse score and then talk about scales. Because scales is where we will derive our chords from. That's where we will get our chords. So let's go with a basic scale. It's called the C major. C, we have C. If you know your ABCs, you'd be able to follow. And you only need 7 of them. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and C. There's only basically 8 notes in a scale. That would be the C, the D, E, F, G, A, B, C. You can put them in numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now the last note of the scale is usually the first scale again. Oops. Okay? So what does this look like in the FL Studio or in the DAW? So let's go to the DAW. Dying. We have C, this is the middle C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Alright, that's, by the way, that's called a major scale. So we're not gonna talk about any other scales yet, we're just gonna start here with the major scale. Okay? So that's what it looks like here in the DAW. Now, like I said, you could number it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 notes in a scale. That's also important. So where do you get chords, right? I'll just stay in the DAW. So how do you make chords in a scale? Well, first off, you're gonna have to pick a note. Any note. But for now, let's pick with the first note. C. Gonna take this, right? Put it here. And then what you need is you go to the third note above the first note you picked. Is 1, 2, 3, E. Right? Then 1, 2, 3, 4. Then you're gonna need the fifth note. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. So now we have the first note. That's the name C chord. It's E major chord. Tempos 2. And it's a whole note. Okay. Hello, welcome to the class. Are you going to explain about intervals? No, not yet. That would be under melody writing. Okay? So we're just on the chords first. I know it's kind of counterintuitive, but I think knowing how to play chords first, like especially with someone who has no background, is a little better than playing like melodies first and learning intervals. So intervals, by the way, is just like the distance between the notes. So for now, to keep things simple, we're gonna talk about just numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now for each note, you can derive a chord. And it's gonna be different. Let's say we go to D. I'm gonna take this. What's the third note from D? 1, 2, 3. F. No, not yet. Okay. Again, don't mind the black keys, by the way. We're staying white keys just to keep things simple. D. And what's the fifth note? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. Sounded like da 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 da. So that's a D minor. Alright, then E. Same thing. What's the third note? That would be G. From E, count up 5. That would be a B. Same thing again. On the G, on the F, right? And then on the G, same thing. And these is probably the basic block chords that everyone's using. And then finally, we're back to the C. Play that. What would it sound like? Da, 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 dee, da, da, da. Okay. So that's where you derive chords from, is from your scale. Now there is different types of scales. Now the thing, with this, like, since I'm teaching you like you don't have to be, I don't have to teach you like what's the word, like traditionally, like, oh, this is the E and then there should be like a key signature. Nah, dude. You just gotta know the C scale, and then from here, you can just move it around. Let's say you want the key of E. Move it to the E. There we go. But there is a pattern I should show you, or you do, at least you could understand it. And then, again, you can go to the key of A if you want. Okay? I'm not gonna call this intervals, I'm just gonna call it a pattern. So let's go to the what chord sent a musician to jail? Oh, I haven't heard that one before, man. I'm kidding. I didn't mean to be sarcastic. Wait, is Afa here? Okay, sorry, my bad. Well, anyway, back to Paint. So Back to the paint. So I was talking about a pattern to the major scale. So we have C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and then C. Right? So the pattern from the C to D would be, because, okay, how do I explain this simply? So, let's go to the keyboard. Just a sec. So if you look at the keyboard, we have, go back to the key of C, we have white and black keys, right? So technically, if you play a C to D, you're actually skipping a note, which is the C sharp. So you're skipping. You're technically skipping a note. With the exceptions of E and F, see, that's why they're like next to each other, and B and C, you're not skipping any note. So there's like, so if you skip a note, it's considered a whole step. If you don't skip a note, it would mean a half step. Okay? Because if you played everything without skipping anything, it's gonna sound like this. But with a pattern of skipping, you can play. Okay? So again, there's whole step and half step. So let's go to the paint. So let's go to the paint. So from C to D, again, you're skipping C sharp, or the black key between them. That would be a whole step. Let's call it WS. And then we have D to E. Again, you're skipping the black key between them. Another whole step. The exception of E and F, that would be a half step. Let's call it HS. F, G. Now, there's a black key between them. That would be a whole step. D to A. That would also be a whole step. And then A to B. That will also be a whole step. And then the B to C would also be a half step. So that's the pattern. We have a whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. God damn, I hope you guys are listening. So let's go. Let's go through the FL2. What would that look like? So again, the pattern is whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. So again, in case you just want to know what's the pattern and how to make a major scale in the DAW or a music sheet writing program, this is the pattern. So let's just stick with the DAW because I'm assuming everyone here is gonna want to try it on the DAW. So let's say we start on the, let's go to a new pattern. On the G. We're gonna use quarter notes. So the first one is a whole step, so that means you skip the black key, right? Then there's another black key, so the next pattern is like a whole step. Now B to C, so the next pattern is actually a half step. So you just go to the B to C, because remember the exception is a B and a C will always be a half step. Same with E and F. So let's go to the next one. It's another whole step. You skip this key. Next would be another half step. Now, then next, whole step. And then an E, we need a whole step. That means you go to this one, the black note, F sharp. And then last is a half step. Just a G. And like I said, the scale ends with the first note. And there you go. That's how you make a major scale. I hope you guys understood that. All right, let's keep going. So again, like I said, you can derive chords from a scale, and every note has a different tone to the chord. What do I mean by that? There's happy ones, and then there's sad ones. Now this one doesn't sound. It's a minor. Just trust me. Okay. Now again, there's actually a pattern to this. I'm stuck in jazzy chords. It's so hard. Oh. Happening in chat. Anyway, I'll keep going. So, like I said, my paint. There's a pattern to chords, and this is where you can use to compose a chord progression. So let's go back here. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and then again a C. So the first one here is called a major first, and it's a capitalized Roman I. And then here we have a minor. By the way, minor and major. Major means happy, minor means sad. It's a minor second. Then we have a minor third. Then we have major fourth. We have a major fifth. Then we have a minor sixth. Oh my god, please pay attention to the lesson. And then on the B, we have a diminished seventh. And then finally back to the major first. So that's where you probably seen this somewhere. Like, what chord progression do you use? Oh, I use a 1, 4, 5. Right? Or maybe I use a 2, 5, 1. So that's where you get your chord progressions. So now let's talk about this. Now, so some basic chord progressions. We're finally going into chord progressions. So like I said, there's 1. I'll be right back, guys. I need water. It's fine, Alpha Ziguana. Okay, I haven't seen that before, but I don't know. I have seen it, but don't know how to use it. Well, it's just a way of like writing chords for musicians. But again, don't worry about it because we're just gonna use it here on the DAW. And Joshua Lee is right. There is like a stamp function in like the newer FL. I just prefer this older version. That means you don't really have to worry about scales or like the patterns. But at least you know how to do a major chord pattern. There's, by the way, different types of scales, but I'd say you can use a major scale to compose any song. I'll show you in a bit. Okay, so where were we? Ah, yes, the Roman numeral, right? The 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So let's say you're making a 4-chord progression. Right? So let me just put on, why did I delete? Let me just put all the chords in again. Okay, so these are the chords. So there's the first, major first, minor second, minor third, major fourth, major fifth, minor sixth, the diminished, and then again back to the major first. Right, stop deleting. Now let's talk about the type, like the major chord, and then the minor. And then, like I said, there's a third one called the diminished. But that's like moving into function. But let's just listen to them. So again, major sounds right. The minor version of it would be sad. And then the diminished sounds like this. So by the way, yeah, I know, I'll just talk about that later. So let's talk about chord progressions and how to use the Roman numeral. Again, it's just what am I showing? I'm showing paint. Sorry. Okay. So anyway, I hope you guys can hear that. So let's say you're making a. God, everyone's so noisy. Let's. All right. So when. Hello. All right. Sorry. So you're gonna make a chord progression, right? So let's say we start with a C. That's the major first. Let's say you wanted a. Okay, you know what? Pick a random number, chat. 1 to 8, 4. I'll wait. Pick a random number, and that's gonna be 5. Okay, so you want it on the 5. Okay, so yeah, noise suppression carrying hard. Okay, we have 5, 4. What else? 5, 4, 2, 7. 5, 4, 2, 7. You know what? That's fine. So that would be a 5. So that means it's a G chord from C. That's your 5 chord. And then the fourth. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then what did you guys say? 2. That would be the D minor. And then I'm just using block chords, by the way. There we go. 5, 4, 2, 7 chord. You are using. Let's go to the paint. 5, a G chord, an F chord, a D minor, and then we have a B diminished. Okay? So let's see how that sounds like. So what's the problem with that chord progression, guys? You know, technically there's nothing wrong with it. You can probably write a song about it. Right? But it depends on intent. So that's a pretty... Have fun explaining diminished. Oh, I'll explain diminished. Don't you worry. I'm gonna explain that when we get to functions. Okay, so 5, 4, 2, 7. This is the chord we chose. But let's say we change the 7th chord we chose, right? Let's say from 5, 4, 2. Let's make it a 1. So back to C major. So there we go. That's how you make like chords. So you pick from the Roman numerals, like, and then just make a chord progression from there. You guys get it? Okay. I was just reading your chats. So again, that's how you pick. That's how you compose a chord based on the scale and based on the Roman numeral pick. And you notice, like, you guys pick 7, it doesn't really work, right? Well, there's a reason why it doesn't work, but we'll get to that later. Okay? So that's where you get chords. By the way, I mentioned block chords, right? Like, what's a block chord? Well, that's the basic one. So from the first note, you count 1, 2, 3, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So those are block chords. So by the way, you can mix and match. You can pick like any chord progression you want as a form of practice. Let's say you want to start on the E minor, fine, and then you want on the 5th chord. Then you want a 6th chord. Then back to the 5th chord. Okay. Anyway, so now that you guys know where chords come from, let's talk about the different positions of a chord. That's right, there's like different positions of a chord. I'm gonna pick just 2 chords. I'm gonna pick, let's say, D minor and a G major. That would be the 5th. Fuck, I'm not showing FLs to switch to FL. Here we go, here we go, here we go. I'm just don't understand about the diminished 7th. Yeah, I know, it's back to FL. We'll get to the diminished 7th, don't worry about diminished 7th. It's rarely used anyway, at least in pop songs. Okay? Okay, so I picked a chord. It's the minor 2nd, D minor. We're still using C major scale, by the way. And then I picked the 5th, which is G major scale. A G major chord. Now this one sounds a little too... It sounds a little too stiff. And if you keep using this, it doesn't have any directions, right? So now we're gonna talk about the different positions first. Now, to make it more interesting, we gotta know the different positions of a chord. Let's say this D minor, right? So this is the first one. It's called a root position or a block chord, because it looks like you're stacking blocks on each other. Okay, that's called the root position. It's the root position because the lowest is like the root. Like it's the name of the chord, which is D minor. Okay? Now, the next position would be starting. It's gonna take this, put it up here. Right? So this time, it's still the D minor, but this time I am on the 3rd note, which is F. That is still the D minor. And then next, we go up here. We take this. That would be the 2nd inversion. So again, this is the root position. right? Now we're just taking the same three notes and then putting this on a higher note, on a higher pitch. So this would be root position. This would be first inversion. And then this would be second inversion. You guys get it? So it's just the same chord in different positions. It'll be useful in writing. All right. And then again, let's go to the G major, the one that I use. Again, root position. Take this, put it on the higher one. First inversion. Then take the lower one again, put it in a higher version. Second inversion. Now let's now, how do you use inversions then? So let's take this again. So how do you? Okay. So I'm still gonna use these two chords, same two chords. So let's say just gonna show you real quick. Now let's listen to that. Let's listen to this first. Next. Let's check. I heard it's to avoid dissonances with other instruments. Yes, that's also true. But I'm assuming we're writing like, I don't know, band setup, or like you're doing some things from the DAW like EDM. But I wouldn't worry too much about like dissonances with other instrumental. I think what you're referring to is like on the orchestra. And that's also true. It's not really for like one thing. You can use it in a lot of ways. So here, I'm just using it how to write what's that thing? A voicing. It's a chord with voicing. Okay, so we're gonna go to the whole voicing thing using inversions. Again, so this is the basic one with just block chords. By the way, in a chord, there is something called the bass, and then in the middle is the color. Is it a minor or a major? And then on the top is the leading tone. So when you take just the top, what you have is this. So I'm just gonna, how do you mute? I'm just gonna delete it. No, I'm just gonna go to a new pattern. You have tita tita. So with the block chords, this is your leading tone. Okay? So how do you make that interesting? Well, in the second part, here, I use a bunch of inversions. First one is a first inversion. The second one is a second inversion of G. The third chord is a root of D minor. And then the last chord is a first inversion of G. Now again, if you look at the leading tone, the topmost note of a chord, it's gonna look like this. Retilazo. Oh. It's almost like a melody. So this is how you create like interesting patterns by using that. So interesting chord patterns, and you make it seem like your chord progression has a direction. So let's say so this is called writing for a let's say I'm just gonna do this one. Still using the key of C major, C major by the way. Now from there, it's up to you what chords you will decide, as long as it is, wait, where is my capture? As long as it is within the scale of C major. So what we have here, if you go to the FL Studio, we have an A note, we have a C note, we have a B, and a G. We have an A, a C, a B, and a G. Trigonian, yeah. Yeah, I'm assuming people will just use keyboards here, man. But hey, you do you. So again, I chose the leading tone, like the notes of A, C, B, and G. Now, let's decide on a chord. It'll be up to you. So let's say for A, I'm gonna use F major. Right? And then here I'm gonna use A minor. And then here I'm gonna use an E minor. So F, A minor, E minor. I'm not streaming the FL Studio again. We have an F major, A minor, E minor, and then a G major. See? So what did I use again? So at first so let's just go back. How I did that again. I chose a note, a leading tone. That's my leading tone. And then I decide what chords I will use. And again, as long as it's within the C major. Gonna lower this a bit. So I used F major, A minor, E minor, and then a G. Let me just fix the velocity. So you just so you guys can hear the leading. Now, let's say you just want to use block chords. I'm just gonna use same chord pattern and see how it sounds. I use an F, A minor. What's next? I use an E minor. Let's say we go down. And then a G major. I mean, it sounds fine. Just like for chord progressions. You're just gonna put on a melody. But let's compare that with the inversions, with the leading tone. I use an A, I should do a comparison. that on the 6. F, A minor, and then oh, let's compress them. So let's compare them. So this is like the block chords only. Chad block chords. All right, that's it. And then this is where with the voicing. Now, if you ask me, I think this one, it's a little easier to write a melody as opposed to I mean, you can write melodies, but the tendency is you will you'll write a melody based on the leading tone unconsciously. And if you listen to the intervals of it, so I'm just gonna go into intervals quickly. See, that's a. So it's got da 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 da. That's why some melodies may sound awkward, especially if you wait. I think you use bossa nova chords to teach them how notes chord to chord. I don't really need to use here. But anyway. Again, here, let's say here. So again, this part is a little easier to write melodies. Because you can sort of hear a melody inside it. So da 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 da. And then of course if you're like used to writing melodies now, you could probably write something basic. Okay, you know what? Let's not that far yet. Da, da. There we go. Okay, so just a little. Actually, base my melody on the leading tones, like the higher part of the chord. You'll notice there's a bit of tension here, but that's fine. But I resolved it on a B, so it works. And then I can variate it as okay. So if you have like leading tones, like a direction on how you write your chords using inversions, you can easily write a melody. But again, I'm getting far ahead of myself. What I did is like a different lesson, like melody writing and phrasing and the whole question and answer. But again, we're sticking with chord. But you can improvise on your chord progressions. Okay, so let's keep going. Let's stick to lesson, which is chords. Sorry, give me a breather. So, inversions. It creates interesting direction to your chord progression, even if you're just using 2 chords or more than 1 even. So, what's next? Well, let's talk about function. Now, each chord, back here, each chord progression here has a function. Okay, good night, on. Bye bye. So each chord has a function. Where do I erase? I'm just gonna make a new one. Okay, I'm in Paint. Chord has a function. So again, let's just stick with the key of C and a major scale. You guys are wondering about the different scales? Well, I'll talk about that in melody writing. G, A, B, and C. And the same C major scales. Each one of these chords has a function or has a role. Now, the most basic one, let's talk about is the G chord, number 5. Now, this chord is very special to every song, the number 5 chord, because the number 5 chord usually it's used as like an ending chord. I love number 5. Same, man. I love number 5 too. The G chord. God. Excuse me. The G chord or the 5th chord in a scale is usually used as an ending. All right? So, this is the first function, the basic function that I'll teach you guys. So that's why in every chord progression, they'll use the 5th chord. Let's say an example would be wait, sorry guys, give me a second. Give me a sec. Replying to some. Okay. So what was I saying? Yeah, okay, the 5th chord is used as an ending. Let's say a little. Let's just start with the. Sorry, excuse. Okay, sorry. Happening. BRB guys, let me just answer a message. Okay, I'm back. Okay, so what was I saying? Yeah, a G chord and a function. And the most basic one is the fifth chord, and it's usually used for ending. Now, an example of a chord progression would be. So, it was a recent song I've been playing. A Star is Born by Lady Gaga, right? Her chord progression is actually in the key of C. I could be wrong. Probably capo somewhere. No, it's in the key of C. He just starts on like a different chord note, on a different chord, which is A minor, and it's like F here. So F, F, and then we go to the C. Then to the G. Okay? The fourth chord is always a G. Or is always the fifth chord. Because the basic four chord progression is called a cycle. And usually people would use the fifth. Like cycle back to the first one. Now, it depends. It depends whether you're going to use the fifth or something else. Because in the, say, this example here, I'm using an A minor. Now, this makes sense because if you look at G, the scale of C, next to G is A. Right? So that makes sense because it's just a stepwise, it's just a whole step above. Now you're not gonna use G, let's say you change it to E minor. Let's say it's an E minor at first. Now a G to a G major to an E minor, right, is usually never done. Because why? If you look at the G major, what notes do we have? We have a G, and a B, and a D. How do I do this? There we go. We have a G, a B, and a D. An E minor has an E, a G, and a B. Now, tonally, it doesn't have much it's not too far from each other because of the similar notes they have. It's G and B. That's why when you play them together, there isn't much. There isn't much difference at all. At least it's a little. It's slight. That's why, if you're using E minor, you're probably gonna want something else like an F. I don't know, that doesn't make much, but you guys know what I mean, right? So, sorry, man. Me. What we're talking about functions. I think I'm losing myself. About functions. Go to, like I said, the fifth chord is always used as an ending. So that means you can either use the fifth chord as to cycle back to your 4-chord progression, or it's used as an ending. See that? So let me make a chord progression. Let's go back to our old chord progression here. Now I use a G chord on the last, but let's say I want to end it, and I want to end it on a C major scale. That's like the basic thing. The G, you end it on the first chord. Okay. It's basically, what do you call this? The function of a chord, of at least an ending chord, is to end it on the first. Let's go to the paint. Here, the function would be end it on this tonic, or on I said tonic. I'm gonna avoid this. I'm gonna avoid terms. It's simple. I'm just gonna, so again, its purpose is to end it on the first note, or whatever like key note you started with. Let's say I started here on the A, right? Let's say I end it on the G, I'm gonna end it on the A minor instead of C. Now if you listen to that, listen closely. Yeah, the ending isn't as strong or as convincing as, say, you end it on a C major. As opposed to ending it on an A minor using G chord, okay? The 5th chord. Okay, now there's a reason for that, why it doesn't feel quite as satisfying when it's A. Exactly. Now there's a reason for that. All right, but it involves like other scales and other chord functions. So I'm just teaching like the basic ones. And the basic one would be the progression of using, let's just go to the paint, of 5, 1. Exactly, it feels like it's going to right. In other words, the ending isn't convincing, or it isn't strong. It can end, but it's not as convincing, or it's not as strong, or what's a convincing. I think I've used convincing twice, but anyway. So that's the basic chord progression of an ending, would be a 5-1. Now someone here asked, like, what is the use of diminished chords, right? Where we're gonna get there now. So now let's talk about the other functional chord, which is the 4th, which is F. So the 4th is like it's like a support for the 5th, you know, to really nail it home, like it's an ending. So again, let's try adding a 4th. So we're gonna take this G chord, we're gonna make it into a half note. We're gonna put it here, And then we're gonna add an F here. So just back to F. So these are half notes. Let's listen to it. And then we'll end on the C. There's something wrong with the middle bodies. Or, since I'm going up, let's use this inversion instead. There we go. So, fourth is like used as a... Hello everyone who just came into the stream. We are so far ahead. Okay. Continue. So again, the fourth or the F is like a support for the fifth chord. But you can also use the fourth as an ending. Let me just change the chord progression a little bit since I started with the F. Now let's go to FL Studio. And this time I'm going to use C major chords, then A minor, and then F major. Then I'll end on the C. So this is C major, A minor, E minor, F, and C. See? So you can use F or the fourth chord as a substitute for the fifth chord. Let's say if you want like dun, dun. Let's say, what if I turn this into G? A minor, G major, F, and C. So you can also use the fourth as a ending chord. But I think it's a little more subtle than using a G chord. So let's switch that. Let's see the difference. Minor. I'm gonna go back to G major using a second inversion. Okay. So, and here, let's use the F chord using a second inversion again. Okay, so that's the F. That's the basic one. So now a diminished. What is the use of a diminished? So let's talk about the first substitution chord that you're gonna learn here. So the first substitution chord you're gonna learn is the B diminished, and I call it a substitution chord because you can use that depending on the inversion you use. Let's go back to our old chord progression of, but this time using B diminished as the final chord. So instead of G, we're gonna use a diminished. See? Sounds like it ended, right guys? I used a diminished chord. That sounded, did that sound convincing? This is better than my music theory class of it. Oh, oh, thanks for the $10, man. Eman. I hope I'm saying that right. Yeah, I'm trying not to use a lot of the what do you call this? Like the term, the musical jargon. I'm trying to keep it simple. People using numbers and translating it like from the traditional music sheet. You know, like the lines, 5 lines, 4 spaces. I'm using it on ATAW. Anyone can use it, even though you don't know how to use it. But I will say though, at least try to sing just a bit when you're writing songs. You don't know how to play an instrument. So again, so back here, again, a diminished chord. Yeah, I wish you'd stream back when I was first learning. Sorry. Sounds like the climax. Then exactly. It's a climax. It's a real tension because in music there's something called tension and release. So here comes the tension. But what if we use let's say we end it on an A minor. Because we're edgelords and we like minors and we like the dark sounds, right? Let's see if it's convincing. It's very subtle, but it does end as opposed to the G major. Let's say a G major going down to the A minor. Now there's a reason for that. See? That's because a G major doesn't have a lot of tension as opposed to a diminished chord. There's that tension and then there's that release. You guys get it? So in theory, now we're gonna talk about music theory. In theory, does that mean more tension means better endings? Well, let's see. Now this is actually an incomplete diminished chord. Let's try adding the 7th. Add the 4th chord. Now from here, I'm gonna try introduce major 7ths and dominant 7ths. See? Now that one. See, now that one has a more stronger ending. Especially if you play around with the inversions, like the different positions. Like let's say but however, I think I chose a poor chord here as the E minor because it sounds like sudden. Or perhaps the inversion doesn't really work. So let's go back to the original. See? Now, more tension means more convincing endings? Maybe. Now, Joshua said here, like maybe this would sound better if it ended on the key of C. Let's see. Well, there we go. You see? The theory is right. It's convincing and it ended well. Tension, resolution, or release. So that's what, so again, to some basic functions of chords, the 4th and the 5th is usually used for endings. Let's just go to the paint one here. excuse me, the fourth and the fifth chord of a major scale is used, or any scale is used for endings, right? And then the diminish can be used as a substitute. Now, substitute chords, you know, can actually take other chords from different scales and then use it here. Now, we're gonna talk about them some other time. Guys, is Logic Pro good? I might start a free trial. DAW is dependent on your preference, man. Try it and see what it feels for you. Okay. So what were we talking about? So let's keep going to more function chords. Excuse me. So let's go to our new score for a bit. Just zoom in on here. Delete. Now let's talk about the scales again. E, D, E, F, G, A, B, and C. Now, I mentioned major sevenths and dominant sevenths. So what are they? Well, let's start with major sevenths. So what are major seventh chords? Well, like I said, seventh, meaning it's a number. So from C, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now if we add the chord here, again, we need the first note, and then the third note, which is E, and then the fifth note, which is G, and then a seventh note, 1, 2, which is B. Okay, now we're moving to jazz territory, but not really. Go, that sound, that's a major seventh. Depends on the scale, but here, in this context, C major seventh, a major, excuse me. Now, you can tell if it's a major 7 if it's part of the scale. Is B part of the scale? Yes, it is. So that's why it's called a major 7th. So how does that look like in the DAW? My throat is drying so fast, I'm not sure why. We have C, E, G. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That is how you do these like smooth jazz chord. You find the 7th note within the scale, but again, it depends. So now let's go to D. What would be the 7th of this? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But however, this isn't called a major 7th. Any guesses why? How come the D minor isn't called a major 7th? I'm already saying the answer. Because it's there we go, because it's minor. So it's called a minor 7th. So again, same thing. So I'm gonna use the chords of C major. Excuse me guys, let me just... So, hello. Okay, I'm back. So next would be F. Now, F is a major chord. So that means the 7th would be called a major 7th. Minor 7. Then here, We have a G7. Now, G isn't called G major 7th. Okay, there's a reason. There's gonna be a reason for that. It's called a G dominant 7th. So let's what's the context? So I'm gonna use a bit of the musical jargons here. So again, so now I'm just gonna put in the numbers 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 8. By the way, it's called. It's just the same thing. We have C, we have D, we have E, we have F. Still using the key of C, A, B, and then a C. 8. So I'm just gonna teach you like one musical term used for like to describe the chords here. The 5th is always called. And I'm gonna teach you 3 things. This is called a dominant. Not sure why. That's what the conservatory people told me. It's called a dominant. And then the F. Remember what I told you about the F being like a support for the G chord or the 5th chord for endings? Well, this one is called a sub-dominant. It's not dominant enough, so it's just a sub-dominant. And when we listen like last time, we're using F, it's not as strong as G, hence sub-dominant. Well, that's what I think. Next would be tonic. Yeah, it's like a support class basically. Now the first chord or the home chord is called a tonic. Tonic means it is the key you're using, right? Or it is the home key or the original key or the first note you're using. Okay, so we have a dominant, a subdominant, and a tonic. Now let's go back to major 7s. So let's say you have a chord of C. By the way, this is what a major 7 would look like. C major 7, that means you're gonna have to add the 7th note from the C. Now, like I said, now in G, the exception is it's not a G major 7th. In the key of C, you cannot write a G major 7th. Why? You can only you can only write it this way as a G7. Why? Why not? Why not add a G major 7? G is like a major, right? Well, okay. Now, but we have to talk about the difference between a major 7 excuse me, and just a simple 7. Now, usually, how can I simply explain this? A major 7 is it indicates what key you're using. Okay? It indicates what key you're using. That's why when I said like if you're gonna use C, you have to make sure that the 7th note is within the scale of C. You guys get it? So we have C, D. Oh, sorry. So major 7 indicates the key. Fucking mouse. Indicates the key. Because it's within the scale. And then the 7th. How should I say this? It may indicate a different key. Or you know what? Put it simply, a seventh, like when you see a seventh chord, its use is for transposing. That's why I say it could be a different key. And major seventh indicates the key. Alright? So let's just go to the DAW. Maybe I can explain it better here. Because you guys, you're gonna have to know the different scales. So let's see if I can illustrate it here a little better. Sometimes we learn from our eyes. So again, so we take a C major 7. Like I said, major 7 indicates the key we're using. Taking C, E, G, B. Usually that means we're in the key of C. But there's also something else that indicates, like it's called a major 7. That would be the fourth. Because the fourth the seventh of the F chord is also within the scale of C, but does it indicate a different key? Well, not really. And again, it depends on context. Now, a seventh. Now, although F is within the key of C, right? It's not called a major seventh, but just simply called a dominant seventh or a seventh or a G seventh. Because if you turn this into a, what do you call this? A major seventh, that would be different. That would be this way. As we all know, F sharp isn't part of the key of what do you call this? Key of C. Another reason to explain this is the distances, the interval key. So that would be 1, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 8. One, two, three interval. The interval. So here from C to E, that would be counting the black notes. 1, 2, 3. That's an E. And then from the E to G, that would be 2. And then from the G to B, that would be 3 again. And that would be 3. So it's 3, 2, 3. I hope I'm making it. I hope this making sense and not make it even more. Now, a dominant seventh would mean, so from the interval, or just a seventh, let's go to G. So same thing, this is 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, B, 1, 2, 3, then 1, 2. That's the seventh. You guys get it? Okay, so I'm gonna make it simple. A seventh is a major seventh is part of the. Let's call it an exemption. Now, the fifth note of a C, you can't call it a G major seventh because, as we all know, a major seventh potentially, it can be like a different key altogether. Okay, so the exemption will be the fifth note of a scale, 2, 3, 4, 5, is called a G, a dominant fifth or a seventh. It can't be called a major seventh. Okay, let's just put it that way, simply put. You guys get it? I hope you guys get it. But okay, now let's go. So what's the use? What is the use of a major 7? Well, first off, it's just to add some color. Okay? For now, it's just to add some color. But it also means you have more options. Let's say you wanted just 2 chords. Remember the 2 chords we wrote? It's D minor, and I'm going down like this. Now, like I said, what's the use of major 7s or 7s? It's used for color for now. So now I can do this. I can go these. See? I'm just gonna use 2 chords using inversion. I'm just gonna add I'm adding the 7s, so there's a 4th one. So now I should really talk about this. It's D minor. Then we have G major. Then a D minor again. And then a G major. See? Before that C, I avoided that C because it isn't actually part of the 3 notes of a D minor. But now we're using 7, it is now a part of it. Right? You guys get it? Wait, let me just... Wait, so is D major 7 just a D major with a 7 added in? Major 7 just added in. Major 7, it depends, but can 7... I think that's the same reason that a 4th and 5th are neither major nor minor system present. Oh, or yeah, so that's why the same reason 4th and 5th are neither. Yep, that's true. Technically, a 4th, you cannot tell if this is a sad chord or a happy chord. But according to Jacob Collier, a 4th sounds way kind of dark or like reserved, as opposed to its 5th, which is very triumphant and confident. It's a very personal interpretation, I feel. But yes, you really technically can't say if it's a major or a minor. If I add an A, now it's a major. But if I add a G sharp, it's a minor. You guys get it? Okay, so where were we? I was talking about major scales. Major 7s. Okay, so that's like 7s or major 7s. It's used for like color. You know, more color, more interest in your chord progressions. You can add 7s. But now let's go to dominant 7. So again, the 5th chord, the 5th note in a scale. If you use a 7th as a chord, you can't call it a major 7th. Because there's implication that major 7ths can indicate a different key. So we are going to call it a dominant 7th. Okay? All right. So tradition. I'm just trying to like teaching it. I'm not sure if I'm complicating things, but I just wanted to like get to the function of a dominant seventh. So I'm just trying to shortcut like some explanations. So again, the fifth note, if you're gonna use it a chord and as a seventh, you can't call it a major seventh. You're gonna have to call it a dominant seventh. Because a dominant seventh, it's again, it's used like as an ending. Yeah, but it's like a very strong ending if you add a dominant seventh or a seventh of the fifth chord. Let's go back to one of our examples here. Remember this with the diminished? So what was missing here? I'm gonna add a G. Now we have a G7. Okay, let's put it here. Yeah, and then the theory again, more tension means more convincing. So this one. Okay, without the 7th. With the 7th. And you can do like some other voicing as well. Let's say from F, E. But again, that's just for color. That's just for interest. Just reading chat. Again, so yeah. Another function, by the way, of a dominant 7. Let's say you use a C major 7. Let's make a let's make a basic chord progression. Let's say A minor. I gotta put a C in here somewhere. So let's say I'm just gonna use 1515. Let's use block chords. Then back to C. There's nothing wrong with that, by the way, using a tonic, then going. Let's say you have this chord progression. So, we're not talking about scales right now. So we're talking about chords. So again, let's say you have this chord progression. We have a major first, which is the tonic or the home. We have a fifth, we have a fourth, and we have a first again. This is called a round chord. Like a round chord progression or something. Back to C. But let's say we add a 7th on the C major 7. Now the thing with dominant 7s is, now when you say dominant 7, it's usually the 5th, right? Now, I'm gonna ask you a question. If I turn. You're gonna need to know the scales, I guess. Okay, let's think of a. Okay. If C is to be like the fifth note, what would be the first note going down? You guys know? Anyone knows? If C is to be a fifth note, what would be its first note going down? F. There we go. F. That would be F. So we would be, so if I would use like a C dominant seventh. Now this is a major seventh. How do you make it into a dominant seventh? Well, you just lower your seventh note here, this one, into a half step down. Now that would be a dominant seventh. Okay, that's the sound. But you can if you add this to a dominant seventh, you can no longer go back to your C. Or at least it sounds a little off. You really can't end it anymore. Even without the major seven. See? What does it sound to you guys? Everyone's saying F. Well, that's because remember what I said about dominant 7 indicating it could be another key. Well, that other key is what you guys answered, which is F. So once you play the C7, you can go to the F chord. You can even end it on the F. Okay. Now without this 7, it's just gonna sound. Let's add the let's add the context first. Chord progression. So we started with the C. Then sorry, I'm just gonna remove the F first. There we go. Now let's try adding the F. Now the voice, well, it depends on the voicing as well, whether it'll sound like it's ending or not, because that's the thing with like modulating keys. So it will depend on your voicing. Now without the dominant 7, it's just gonna sound like I went to the 4th chord of the C major scale. See? It doesn't sound like it ended anymore. Also, I'd like to point out what you guys notice here is if I remove the C, what we have is it's a diminished chord. Right? Still gonna end. Like, so basically you can think like a dominant 7. It just has like a diminished chord inside. Same thing with the G. Remember the G? Remember this? Where was that? I think I deleted it. But anyway, a G7. See? Remove the G. We got B diminished. That's why it ended on the C. Guys get it now? Alright, so so that's basically it. Those are the functions. If you have any questions, what else should I explain further? You guys have any questions here? I'll just do final review of everything. Okay, I'm still not sure I understand what makes a diminished. I can definitely write it down because. Okay. All right. Let's talk about major. Just gonna use one type of chord. So this is a major, right? Now, how do you do a minor chord, right? What do you do? Like I said, without the note in the middle, you really can't tell if it's a major or a minor, like on its own. So to make it minor, you're gonna have to lower the third note. Okay? That's it. So that's a minor. You lower third note by a half step. Okay? So it's not necessarily to the black key, but you just have to lower it like to the next note. It's easier to learn on the piano roll as opposed like traditionally teaching you. You're gonna say, oh, you use the flat it. Then the kids get confused between this. If there's like the F, they think the F flat is this one. Because the teacher says this is a flat and a sharp. But really, when they should be talking about what's the word? Wait. Like they should teach like the keyboard. If you play everything, it is all half steps, right? Which is true. That's why when you play a C to D, you're skipping a note. So again, how do you make it minor? Let's say you have a C major, flat the thirds, or you lower the third by a half step, by one key. So how then? Okay. What about diminished? What are diminished? Well, it's just a minor, and then the fifth going down, right? So for now, I'm just gonna. You guys can just use that, just these, because there's a fourth one, which is an A. This is what you call a C diminished seventh. Is it the seventh? Well, not really. But you see, there's an explanation for this, which I will cover maybe next time. Just know that a diminish is you lower the third by a key going down, and then you also lower the fifth. Okay? Or the basic one. So it's a minor third, 3 half steps. Yes, it is. You're counting like from the bottom, right? So 1, 2, 3. Yep, you're right. And then the fifth would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Go. Yeah, I'm glad you guys are getting it. Okay. So those are the chords. So again, so let's talk about the basic this is review the basic note quantity note value. Keep saying quantity. Basic note value. We have switch to my muse score. And of course, I'll expand a little better, a little more, like maybe on Saturday, if you guys want more or less, about diminish, what are diminish used for. It's more than just like a chord used for ending or substitute for the fifth chord. It can also be used for modulation towards another fifth chord. Excuse me. And you know, there's a lot of like substitutions, like going to C major scale. Because in theory, now this we're talking about theory now, not basic fundamentals. Like any note going like a half step can be used as an ending. Let's test that theory out. So I'm gonna use G on a different inversion. Let's see if it sounds convincing. Okay, sounded like it ended. Let's say I use a different kind of chord. This is an E major, but since the B is the leading tone, does it sound like it's ending? But it sounds like it needed like to go somewhere. So maybe not. Let's say a B major. Not really. And there's an explanation for that. But well, maybe some other time. Let's say E minor. Not really. Again, since remember what I said about G major and then using E minor as like the ending note doesn't really work. That's because they have like two or more common notes. This is it. E minor as an ending? Not really. What about a diminished, a D diminished? See? Again, tension, release. It works. But what about a half step going down? Right? Let's say this chord. Kinda. But how come this one ended? Any ideas? God, I haven't switched it, have I? So this is a C sharp major 7 without the B, without the 7th, without the major 7th, but it's a major 7th. Not as convincing, but with the 7th, that sounds a little better. Right? Any ideas why? Alright, Joshua, bye-bye. I'm about to end, I'm just gonna review everything. Any ideas why C sharp major 7 ended, and convincingly so? No idea? Well, if you look at this note, the B goes up to the C, and then the C sharp goes down to the C. Doesn't really matter what these two notes are from below, as long as you have this. But again, same notes, does it really work? Let's say this one. It doesn't really matter. As long as you have this that goes up a half step, and this one that goes a half step, it's always gonna sound like you're ending it. And that's the theory. I guess it worked, huh? But who would really make this kind of cool? Like this one. Yeah, let's try adding context then. So let's test that theory out. So now we're moving into theory. Let's say let's do a cyclical, basic cyclical. E, F. I'm just gonna do a basic chord progression. C, and then I'm gonna use C sharp major 7. Take note, it's not a dominant 7, but a major 7. But since it sounds like, but like I said, the theory was any half step can end a chord. But it's gonna sound a little. See? I add the C sharp here on the top. Let's see. Da, 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 da. Maybe it'd be better if we add a B. I switch the G from the F. Still ending. I can whatever I want. Look here. But since the leading tone is going up a half step, it's still gonna make sense. A neat trick, huh, guys? So yeah, so that's the theory. They say that it depends on your voicing, I guess. They say that the half step can end a song. I can this. Okay, maybe it's like 3 a.m. I can talk about one more type of chord. So we've learned about major 7s. Learned about dominants. Oh fuck! Wait, I forgot something. Now, how do you make a dominant 7? So we all know this is a major 7, right? So what is a dominant 7th? Well, a dominant 7th is actually a flat 7. Flat the 7, going down. And like I said, the function of a dominant 7 is that it's either it use it as an ending, or it can possibly take you to another key. Possibly, it depends. From here on out, you're gonna hear depends a lot. So a C7 is in a different key. You're no longer on the key of C major. It's like what you guys said. We are on the F. Okay. Now again, same thing with G. So in the key of C, you have G. And I said we can't use it. We can't call this a major 7, even though F is part of the C major scale. Why? Because if you call it a major 7, that would be this one. Now this is no longer part of the C major scale, F sharp at least. Okay? You guys get it? Okay, one more type of chord. It's called an augmented chord. What is an augmented chord? Well, now so far we've only been lowering notes, right? Like if you lower the third, it's a minor. If you lower the third and the fifth note, it's a diminished. But this time, we are only going to raise the fifth note up. It's called a augmented chord. Now, what is the function or what is the use of an augmented chord then? Well, again, it's used for endings. Or if you're like scoring a film, it's used for horror stings. Right? But anyway, so a augmented, you can actually use this as a you can use it as an ending as well. So let's say I'm gonna add a C major 7, a C7, as just a C, I mean. Then an A, E minor. And then for the G, I'm gonna use an augmented chord. See that? It's a different feel from from just an ordinary G. Oh, by the way, I use a G on the fifth as an augment. So this is the augmented fifth chord, which is G. Ta-da. See? That goes ta-da. It feels dramatic. Kinda. It does. Actually, it does feel a little dramatic. As opposed to this. And C. So this the other. So comparing it. It's kinda mellow if you think about it, right? Emotional, exactly. Very suspenseful. It depends on how you interpret it, guys. But here's another thing you can do. With augments, you can do this. So let's put that into like context, right? Some say it's suspenseful, some say it's emotional. But what if I do it in a rhythm like this? Yeah. What was my chord again? I'm forgetting my chord. Right. I used a C, an F, a G, a E minor, okay. dun, 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 dun. Alright, give me a sec, guys. A. And damn it. I think I'm missing a chord. Oh, E minor, okay. Yeah. This, let's say, in context of a different type of rhythm. And then there's the G augmented C. Dun, 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 dun. Right? How does it sound now? Still emotional, still... I think it sounds kind of goofy now. See, there's the augment. Let me accent it by holding it longer. There we go. And you can even change it around, like listen to this. Gonna accent this. Oh, yeah. So now the lead melody is doing that. Sounds kinda... Sounds kinda jazzy now, huh? Or bluesy. Playful, there we go. Well, it's because of the rhythm. But even if I... Even with this... Okay. Really change... Rhythm changes some chords, huh? At least the feel of the chords. Excuse me. Okay, so that's augmented chords. It's again used like for more color on your endings. It's like a substitute for the subdominant, you know, instead of using F, you can use like the augmented fifth chord scale. You guys get that? But anyway, all right. So before I end, let's do a little review. If you have any more questions, please just type it in the chat. Again, the basic note values. We're going for like a basic 4/4 time signature here. You have whole notes. Just one note, one sound, or counts. You have half notes. I hope you're seeing music. Not seeing music. Oh. Hi, babe. How you doing? What was I saying? Just reviewing. And then we have... Oh, fuck. Then we have quarter notes, which is... one count, one sound. Then we have 8 notes, which is 1 count, 2 sounds, and then the last, well, not really the last because we talked about other note values. 16th notes, which is for 1 count, it's 4 sounds. 1, right? And then we have the dotted half notes, which takes up 3 quarter notes. That's why you can only have like 1 quarter note here, the bar. And then we have the dotted half quarter note, which takes up like 3 8 notes. That's why, again, you can only have like 1 quarter note here. And it sounds like this. Tan, 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 tan. Let's add. Tan, 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 tan. Now, how would they look like in the DAW? Well, it would look like this. Now there are more people coming. I am about to end. I'm sorry, guys. What would it look like as a whole note? Again, it looks like this. It's the 4 cells, right? And what would a half note look like? Well, you take 2 cells. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 1, 2. And then, of course, quarter notes, it's 1 cell each. And then 8 notes, it's like for 1 cell, you need 2. Okay, for like blocks of these 16 notes. And then the 16th note takes up all the 4 blocks within the cell. And then a dotted half note, right? Dotted half note takes up 3 cells. There you go. Just missing 1 here. Then a dotted quarter note takes up 6 of 2 of these. So it would look like this. Right? And then you could add more. 3 again. 1, 3. And you're just missing quarter note here. Alright. So, and then what else? And then of course the scale, the basic scale, a major scale would be a C. And then there's a pattern to the major scale where you skip a note. And again, I'll just remind you, the exception to this would be B to C and E to F. It's like a half step. But anyway, so skip a note. The pattern would be whole step, another whole step, and then half step, skip, whole step, step, skip again, whole step, and then the half step. And then within each of these notes is a chord. You have C major, you have a D minor, E minor, you have F major, we have a G major, you have an A minor, a B diminished, and then back to a C major. Alright? And then let's take note of the function, the basic functions we went through. We have F and G are used for ending a chord progression. G being the more convincing one, and F being subtle. The B diminish here is used like a substitute for the G. B diminish has more tension than a G major. And then what else? Excuse me. And then we've learned about the sevenths. First seventh here is a major 7. And then here is a minor 7, minor 7. One from the root note, you just count one within the scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then 7, a major 7 F. And then a dominant 7, remember that's the exemption. Call it a dominant 7. And then a minor 7, a B diminished 7. But actually, this is a B diminished. We'll stop there. Talk about the 7s of a diminished another time. And then what else? So cold. Oh, what's the degrees? WWH, WWW. Exactly, man. Exactly. Take note of these, guys. Take note of what can be said. That's the pattern of a major scale. Kagami, you just got here. Oh boy. I'm sorry, man. What time is it? Is everyone active at 3 a.m. for me? Okay, anyway, what was I reviewing? Talked about. And then I talked about some jargons, you know, talking about subdominants and dominant. G being called the dominant. And then F being called the subdominant. And then the first chord is called the tonic. Or the home key. Anyway, those are just jargons. Don't worry about it, guys. Then we talked about the specific sevenths. A major seventh, again, usually indicates the key. So if you see a C major 7, that would likely be a key of C. Likely, it depends. But if what about a F major 7, right? Does that mean am I in the F major in the F key? Well, again, it depends. So, like I said, you're gonna hear a lot of it depends and what's the context here. But a dominant seventh is usually reserved now for the fifth chord of a scale. So, and then we talked about, oh wait, I'm not gonna delete this, how certain chords are formed. Then we talked about inversions, right? I think I skipped a lot, sorry guys. We have the root, and then you just take this, put it up, that's called the first inversion. And then again, you take up the lower, and that's called the second inversion. And what are they used for? Well, they're used for creating directions to your chords, as opposed to just using everything block chords. So again, an example. I shouldn't have deleted examples. An example of this would be the inversions is chords of D minor and G major. As opposed to just using block chords. Which, by the way, isn't bad. But if you want to create intrigue in your song or like interesting chord patterns, you can use a leading tone. A leading tone is usually the highest note of a chord. And then from here, you can form your chord. You can use anything you, as long as it's within the, and with the addition of sevenths, anything you want. What else did I talk about? Oh, I think I lost it, guys. It's like 3 a.m. Are you okay, babe? It's like, is it cold? Hope you're doing okay though. Um, uh, over where was I, guys? Talked about the major 7. God, I lost track. But anyway, it's in the video. You guys can watch this. I'll keep this one like I guess not behind like a membership. I will do memberships on like other tutorials, you know. Like after the second one, gonna be behind a membership. I'll be working on that. Unless you catch the stream. But the replays, yeah, behind a membership. Okay. So what review? Where was I? Ah, okay. And then the different chords, how they are formed, right? We have C major. How is a minor chord came to be? Well, you just lower the middle. How is a diminished formed? Well, you lower the third note and the fifth note. Okay? And then there's also the augmented chord, by the way, which you raise the fifth note. And again, the augmented is used for like ending a chord or a song. There's a different feel, there's a different emotion for it. Yeah. What else? And the theory that a half step can be used to end. As long as it's like a half step, you can end it any way you like. So I've set an example for that where I used basically this chord. Where I use this chord and it's still going to end. It just sounds a little... It's not really a chord, it's more like a cluster now. But since this note here is like a half step going up, it sounds like it's ending. Like it's even more convincing if I lower the notes below it. See? Now there's a reason for that, which I'll explain maybe on Saturday in the other stream. I'm sorry to everyone who's just getting here, but the stream has ended. Thank you for watching, everyone. You can watch the replay if you want to like review something. I'm sorry if I'm stammering a little bit. It is like a little late. And thank you for the donations and the support. Good night, everyone. Thank you for watching. That's it. Bye-bye.